Hello and welcome back to another Codeigniter video. We just finished adding pagination, and in this video we're going to start the user model view and controller. And in the second part of the video we're actually going to create different user types and have different permissions for them. I've made a table in the Codeigniter series database, and you can see it's very simple. We have a user ID, an email address, username, password, and then a user type. We're not going to take advantage of the user type in this video, but in the second video we will. So let's create a user model. We're going to want two different functions. One is to create the user, and one is to log in the user. We're not doing log out because we don't need to access the database, and the models are for databases. So create user is pretty standard, you just want data. The second function is going to be to log in. We're going to want a username variable and a password variable. We're going to add an array called where. So we want it so where username equals the username. And then the password, I'm going to encrypt that as SHA1. So then we just do our selectors, add our where array. And then we do this dbget. Let's change that to query. And then we're going to return the first row. And I want that in an array. So you can see that's straightforward as well. So let's go ahead and work on the user's controller. The first function is going to be login. I'm not going to create an index. And what we want this to do is we want it to either log you in or show the form to be able to log in. So if you've tried to log in and your information was incorrect, then we need an error to show up. So I'm going to just set data error to equal 0 so that it is set. Then we're going to do like we did when we added a post. So we do if post. Then we want to load the user model, and we're going to grab the username, and I'm going to do this input post username, and then I'm going to say true. This is just like doing post, but I'm just showing you some other options that you have. And then password, we're doing the same thing. Then we're going to say user equals this user login. And remember, this is going to return the first row, which is the only row. And then we're going to say if user doesn't exist, so it didn't return anything, then we're going to change this error to equal 1. Otherwise, what we want to do is we want to add some variables into the session. That way, every page we can tell that we're logged in. So we're going to say this session. We're going to do set user data. Then we'll do user ID as a variable name. And then let's do the user type as well. And you can see after the variable I have a comma what the value is. Then I want to redirect into the post controller. So that's if we've posted. If you've typed everything correctly, then it would redirect you. So if you've logged in incorrectly or you didn't post, then we need to load the login view. I went ahead and added a header and footer to make things a little bit cleaner when we look at it. So what we do now is we do this load view header, this load view login, and then this load view footer. And let's look at those views really quick. Here's our header. It's just basically everything that we had with the opening container. And the footer is just closing that container div and closing out body and HTML. Then what we have in post index, now you can see it's just the code. With the blog post, do the for each, and then add the pagination. The other function we'll want is so that you can log out. So we'll just call that function log out. What we want to do is we want to destroy the session. So we do this session, ses_destroy, and then we're going to redirect them. That's all you need to do with that. We will be doing more with sessions, but what I'd highly recommend is you go to the Codeigniter user guide, and under class, you go to the session class, and it gives you a lot of information about sessions on how to set it, how to update it, destroy it, things like that. Also gives you some good tidbits like you can see about cookies and how much it can hold and things like that. So with each of these videos, you want to go to Codeigniter's user guide and see their examples alongside of ours. We've made the controller and we've made the model, so now we need to make a login view. So all we need to do is add a form, and if there was an error, then we want to display it. After that, no matter what, we want to add the form. So what we want it to do is we want it to go back to user's login and do the method as post. So make sure we close this up. Then we'll close the form. And all we need is a username and then a password. Then let's add our submit button. So that's simple enough. So let's try this out. Here's our login form. We're going to type things incorrectly. And you can see our username and password did not match. Now if I do username and password that does exist, now we've been redirected to the front page. But we don't see a way to log out, and we can't tell that we're logged in. Let's go ahead and update this view. We're going to keep it simple, and at the very top, we're going to say if this session, and we're going to do user data instead of set user data. Then we do the variable of user ID. Then let's say you are logged in. And let's also add a link to be able to log you out. Otherwise, let's add a link to be able to log in. Let's take a look at this. Let's make sure that we've spelled everything correctly. I had a typo. So we do the same thing to log back in. We've now made it so people can log in. We've set some variables into the session. We're able to detect if they're logged in or not, and we've added a login or log out button. The next video, we're going to do more on this, and we're going to add some permissions.